This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Mike82. Mike, thank you. Muldrotha the Gravetide versus Teysa Karlov, Hapatra Vizier of Poisons, and Obzedat Ghost Counsil. Okay, I think that's a pretty good hand to start off with, so we'll keep that one. Oh, and Teysa getting off to a fast start with a mana crypt on turn 1, going into a sack outlet as well, so they've got half of the things that they need in that deck. Let's see here, we can go for green and black, I think, because we've got 2 blue and green sources in hand. Oh, and then Hapatra following things up with another mana crypt, so that's 2 turn 1 mana crypts, and they've got wild growth as well on turn 1. Then a blood artist, so blood artist and a sack outlet is not a good thing to see. Luckily there's no creatures in play so far, and they've also played Thespian Stage, which means they might not have a white land in hand. And speaking of lands, we get into another one. Nothing to do there. I don't think I'm too desperate to get down Seal of Removal yet. So we'll get down a tap land in Field of the Dead, and then go for Rhystic Study next turn, I imagine. Then the first spell coming from Valdrieg, a patron of the channel. Big thank you to Valdrieg for supporting the content here, and playing Obzedat Ghost Counsil. Going for an Armillary Sphere, which is 2 tap and sack to search for 2 basics and put them into your hand. And 5 mana from Hapatra on turn 2, and Hapatra comes down. Then going for a Krosan Grip onto the Mana Crypt over here. I think, as good as Mana Crypt is, I think I would have taken away the sack outlet, to be honest. As a Teysa / Orzhov player, I value my sack outlets very much. But it looks as though Teysa has chosen to keep this hand just because it had a mana crypt in it, so their colours are pretty screwed here. That's not the issue that we're running into, because we've got nothing but lands. But hopefully we can draw into something else. We'll get down this Rhystic Study. That's nice, and Urborg comes down from Obzedat. Don't think we have Cabal Coffers in this deck, but it does give us a lot of access to black. Nest of Scarabs now for Hapatra, and there's not really a worse card that you could see when you're up against Hapatra. Nest of Scarabs is a really good one, and they do pay the Rhystic Study tax. Then Hapatra comes in at us, probably because of the Rhystic Study, and they do choose to get rid of the Blood Artist before it can do any major damage. The Blood Artist is going to be pinging us, or one of us, for a lot of damage over the course of a game. If Hapatra sticks around for any length of time, they're going to have a lot of snakes and insects in play. Blood Artist is pointed at the Hapatra player, and they get a snake and an insect. Now a Phyrexian Tower for Teysa, still don't have the white mana they need. And apparently the Shuffler just wants to throw mana crypts at everybody. Does Valdrieg have removal for Muldrotha? No, we could just go in for Consecrated Sphinx, couldn't we? There we go, I was waiting for that. The Teysa player just decided to scoop it up. So let's try and get this game moving. We'll go Consecrated Sphinx. And if there's a Swords to Plowshares being held back, then so be it. And there we go. Swords to Plowshares, and they do pay for that, which means they're not paying for the Armillary Sphere. Now Chalice of Life comes down from Valdrieg, and that is tap, gain a life. If you have 10 more than your starting life total, it transforms into Chalice of Death, which taps and has a target player lose 5. Solemn Simulacrum coming down now for Hapatra. They're only at 2 cards now, but they've got plenty of mana to most likely play whatever it is that they will draw into. Hapatra coming back in at us. I would be wary about the Chalice of Death coming online. But they're 9 points of life away from that currently. Then putting a minus counter on the Solemn, so they'll get an insect and a snake again. We draw into Lotus Petal now, so we can play Lotus Petal, crack it, and get it out of the bin with Muldrotha. So let's go for Hinterland Harbour as well. So that's blue for that. We go Seal of Removal. We cast the Lotus Petal. Then we can still cast the Seal of Removal with Tropical Island. So let's bounce Hapatra just to slow that down a little bit. And then replay Seal of Removal out of the bin. And that can be our turn. Our Armillary Sphere being cracked by Valdrieg now. Followed by a Howling Mine. So if we're not going to get card draw off of the Rhystic Study, we'll at least get it from a Howling Mine. Hapatra comes down again and they pay for the tax. I don't think we've drawn a single card off of Study yet. Then an Uvenwald Tracker, which doesn't have haste luckily, because they could lay Death Touch damage onto Muldrotha with that. Then Solemn coming in at us, and a couple of Death Touches coming in as well. So we'll just take a hit for 3. Oh, and I must have F6'd. I was going to use the Seal of Primordial to get rid of Uvenwald Tracker there. Oh, but there's a Noxious Gearhulk. Alright, that makes up for all the drawing of lands then. So we go in for Noxious Gearhulk. That can kill the Uvenwald Tracker. And we'll gain a little bit of life there. We'll play the Windswept Heath from the bin. And then it's Seal onto Hapatra again. And then we'll just do our Lotus Petal trick. Then just because I'm worried about Chalice of Life, we'll go in at Valdrieg with Muldrotha. Psychosis Crawler, that's not one I expected. Usually see that in Nekusar decks. Seems to be some kind of Orzhov draw pain deck currently. Not really sure what tactic our opponent's going for. Maybe it's Aristocrats. And they've just got some draw pain in here to help the chance along of pinging us all to death. A Sylvan Library, yeah, got some good cards being drawn here. Sylvan Library for Hapatra. Followed by the Hapatra, still floating the mana for Rhystic Study. So our opponent's playing very well around that. Then a Phyrexian Reclamation, that's a really good one. Which means they'll be able to get their Uvenwald Tracker back, so we need to keep an eye out for haste. Our opponent was going to swing in at us with a Death Touching Snake there and then decides against it. We do want to block a Death Toucher with Noxious Gearhulk so we can play it from the bin. So we'll just bounce a Hapatra at the end of the turn. A Damnation, that's a good one to have, just in case Hapatra goes crazy with a bunch of tokens. So let's go for the Seal of Removal, Lotus Petal first of all. And then it's just Oracle into a couple of lands, I imagine. And Ashnod's Altar on top. Do we care about Ashnod's Altar at the moment? I mean, we could use the sack outlet for Noxious Gearhulk. So let's just play this land and trigger Field of the Dead. And then we'll play another one. And we'll not crack the fetches until we see something on top that we don't like. Then it is 5 points of damage into Hapatra. And trying to just chump block with the Solemn Simulacrum. This does have Menace, so they'll have to block with 2 creatures. An Insect and Solemn ought to do it. Now we could bounce our Noxious Gearhulk with the Seal of Primordium. And then replay Noxious Gearhulk. But that would leave the Seal in the bin ready for some Graveyard Exile. So I think we'll just leave things as they are. We're each going to lose a couple of life here because our opponent's drawing 2 cards. Increasing Ambition. Search your library for a card and put it into your hand. If it was cast from the graveyard, search for 2 instead. And with that, the Psychosis Crawler is now at a 6/6 because they've got 6 cards in hand. I think what I'm aiming to do at the moment is gain a little bit of life by playing the Ashnod's Altar, sacrificing the Gearhulk, and then replaying it to destroy this thing. And that will save us some life over the course of the game, but it will also gain us 6. Plus it will give us something to do, because we don't have a whole lot going on right now. Hapatra coming down yet again. Then going for Phyrexian Reclamation onto the Uvenwald Tracker. They want to get that going with the Death Touch, no doubt. And speaking of haste, there is a Lightning Greaves. They can't play out Ovenwall Tracker and put that on there and activate it, thankfully. And they might feed us a card with the study here anyway. They do. They give us Ashnod's Altar, revealing Demonic Tutor off the top. Then the Lightning Greaves goes on to Hapatra. Do we want that to go through? I don't think we do. So let's bounce that in response. And then if they've got a means of exiling it, then so be it. They can replay Hapatra here, but it will use that mana, and they couldn't use it for something else like activating the Phyrexian Reclamation. Okay, going for the Ovenwall Tracker. They'll put the Greaves onto there, so we need some kind of removal for Lightning Greaves now, which we can tutor for. We have Animate Dead on top and a Woodland Cemetery. So let's go for the Woodland Cemetery. And we've got Polluted Delta on top as well, so we'll play that. And we're triggering Field of the Dead with these. We haven't cracked any fetches yet, so we can get more stuff out with that. Oh, I like that Buried Alive. I don't think we can draw it though. Well, anyway, we'll go for the Ashnod's Altar. Then let's swing in with Noxious Gearhulk. Might as well get 5 points of damage on here. They allow it through, taking 5 points. And then I think we sacrifice the Noxious Gearhulk. And we'll sacrifice a zombie. We'll go in for Demonic Tutor. And let's get ourselves an answer for this Lightning Greaves. Reclamation Sage ought to do it, so we'll go for that. We've now got Muldrotha on top, which I don't mind. Play the Rec Sage. Get rid of Lightning Greaves. Then we'll play out Noxious Gearhulk. That can come out as a creature so that we can still play the Lotus Petal. Really don't want Ovenwall Tracker going round with a bunch of Death Touches in play. So it's worth using resources to get rid of that. Play the Lotus Petal back out. And we could go for Animate Dead onto Reclamation Sage as well, actually. Let's play out the Seal of Removal. Or actually, we wanted to get rid of this for the life, didn't we? Yeah, so let's sacrifice Noxious Gearhulk, actually. And then we can go Animate Dead onto that. And get rid of the Psychosis Crawler. That will gain us 6 life. And what we could do, had I not have played the seal out of the bin, we could have sacrificed the Noxious Gearhulk again and replayed the Animate Dead and gone for a Reclamation Sage if we sacrifice that. But I think we're okay as is at the moment, so let's just leave it there. Cabal Coffers coming down now, along with the Urborg, so they should have a whole heap of mana. Alright, Falconwrath Noble. So it probably is Aristocrats that our opponent's aiming for. Oh, Oblivion Stone. We don't like seeing that, and they can afford to crack it as well. Yeah, it looks like they are doing because they fed us the Muldrotha. Zendikar Resurgent is on top. So wiping out pretty much everything seems to be the aim here. Yeah, they're getting rid of everything. This triggers on whenever another creature dies. Alright, so they might be trying to point a lot of Aristocrat pings at us. So I don't think there's anything we want to do here. Yeah, I think we just have to take that. Oh, actually, you know what? We could go Seal of Removal, couldn't we? Let's go Seal of Removal onto the Noxious Gearhulk. Then Falconwrath Noble will trigger 3, 4, 5, 6 and 9 times. Now it looks like all of them are coming at us. No, there are a few points going at the Hapatra player, but most of them came at us. I think our main tactic is to go for that Zendikar Resurgence because it'll double up our mana. That'll be 2, 4, 6 and 7, then we'll have 6 left over. So we could go in for Noxious Gearhulk or Muldrotha. There's that Hapatra again, followed by Blowfly Infestation. Not quite as good as Nest of Scarabs, but still one to worry about. Yeah, so I think we do just that. Let's go Misty Rainforest. Then we have to tap mana carefully here. Let's tap the fetches, thanks to the Urborg. Need to leave up as much coloured mana as we can. That leaves us with the Noxious Gearhulk. We could go in for our commander again and play out the Mana Crypt. Yeah, we could go for that actually. Yeah, we'll do that. That will draw us a card off of our Zendikar Resurgent because our commander is a creature, obviously. Alright, and that actually. I didn't really want to play out the Mana Crypt, but I'm paranoid about graveyard removal, but drawing into Golgari Signet actually gives us something to do with the mana, so I don't feel as bad about it. There's nothing else we can do though, so we're still running the risk of graveyard hate. We'll just pass the turn, see what happens. Increasing ambition from the graveyard this time. This Cabal Coffers is doing some damage. They can search for 2 answers here. Anguished Unmaking will exile the Zendikar Resurgent. I dare say that was one of the cards they tutored for. Let's see if we can spot another one. Hedron Field Purists. Never seen this one. That's level up of 3, and when it's at level 1 to 4, if a source would deal damage to you or a creature you control, prevent 1 of it, and you prevent 2 of it if it's level 5 or more. Hapatra comes swinging in at Val, and we'll see if they let that through or not. They do have a 0-3, and I think it has to hit to put the deals combat damage to a player, yeah, to put the minus counter on. But Obzedat deciding to block it, which I think is the right thing to do. So no minus counters going round this combat step. But Hapatra has many means of placing minus counters outside of combat. And that looks like a combo piece. Quill Spike goes with, what is it called? Devotion Druid, I think it's called. Anyway, green or black and remove a minus counter from a creature you control gives it +3/+3, which is infinite power with that card. Then Animate Dead, going on to Solemn. And back round to our turn. We lose the flip again. We've lost quite a few flips with the Mana Crypt. Nurturing Peatland. We don't have to lose life to that, thanks to the Urborg. What do we want to play? We definitely want the Ashnod's Altar, so let's just go for that immediately. Then let's play out this Noxious Gearhulk. That can go on the Hapatra. We'll play out the Nurturing Peatland for a zombie. And let's sacrifice these 2 zombies, seeing as how they're not doing anything else. And we'll go in for Muldrotha. That draws us 2 cards. There's an Intuition. We could do some stuff with an Intuition. We could grab ourselves the combo with Ashnod's Altar. That is Nim Deathmantle and Grave Titan. Let's get some more stuff out of the bin then. We can go Reclamation Sage and Animate Dead onto Oracle. So it's Rec Sage first of all, before they do any damage with that Blowfly infestation. Then do we want the Seal of Removal or the Animate Dead? I think I'd rather have the Seal of Removal, to be honest. Yeah, we'll just go for Animate Dead onto Oracle. And we've got Underrealm Lich on top. That should get us into a lot of stuff. Nothing else we can play from the bin, so let's go at the Orzhov player, because we've already got 6 points of commander damage there, and they might block with this anyway. And it's also noteworthy that with Reflecting Pool and Ashnod's Altar held up, we've got Intuition mana. So we'll probably go for that at the end of Hapatra's turn, and try and set this combo up. Sorin Grim Nemesis comes down. That could take care of Muldrotha or, well, any creature in play at the moment. They go for revealing the top card, which just so happens to be a Day of Judgment. And they go straight in for that, so we have to go for the Intuition now. Let's sacrifice the zombie. We'll go Intuition, and we will allow Hapatra to choose which cards to give us. Then we need to put them between a rock and a hard place. We'll go for Grave Titan and the Nim Deathmantle, because they're the 2 cards we need. And then we'll go with Reanimate as well. And depending on what they give us, I might put Muldrotha in the bin. if we can just reanimate it out, but we'll see what they give us. They decide to give us the reanimate, so does anyone have Graveyard Hate is the question. I mean, if they've got Graveyard Hate, then Muldrotha will go back into the command zone anyway, so we'll put her in the bin, ready to reanimate her. The Solemn Simulacrum will die and draw Hapatra a card, taking them up to 2 in hand. And now a Reaper from the Abyss, thanks to the Cabal Stronghold coming down. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, destroy a target non-demon creature. Not too good after a board wipe, but it's good with sack outlets in play. Hapatra comes straight out of the command zone, followed by Golgari Signet. And it seems as though there's no Graveyard Hate, so let's just try and get this combo underway. We lose the flip yet again. There's a Wood Elves. Let's go in for our commander off of Reanimate. We'll play out the Nim Deathmantle. Play out the Grave Titan as a creature. That obviously comes in with some zombies. And then we sacrifice with Ashnod's Altar a zombie. We sack the Grave Titan. And Nim Deathmantle will trigger. We say yes to the trigger. And that brings back the Grave Titan again, and we are up on a zombie token. I've actually floated a mana by accident there, so let me just go for the Wood Elves just to get rid of that. Grab ourselves a forest, and then we do it all over again. In fact, actually we can do this at the end of our opponent's turn, can't we? Yeah, if someone's just gone a board wipe, then there's not much point doing this. Let's go for, instead then, we'll go Noxious Gearhulk onto the Demon. And then we'll just pass it over like that. Like I said, we can do all this on our opponent's turn. So if anyone's got an answer or a board wipe or something like that, then there's no point in us jumping through all the hoops and making everyone watch us, only to get it wiped out. We do have a Chroma's Memorial in the deck, but we haven't drawn into it, so no haste for us currently. Sorin Grim Nemesis will reveal another card. And it's just a Plains, unfortunately. And there we go, in Garrick's wake, so that's exactly why I didn't go for jumping through all the hoops. We can play Muldrotha from... Yeah, we can play Muldrotha from the command zone this time. Oh, and I was F6'd through the... Oh, that's annoying. I would have sacrificed a couple of creatures there for Ashnod's Altar to pay for the Nim Deathmantle and kept ourselves in a Grave Titan. Yeah, that's annoying. It's the problem with Magic Online. I'm doing quite a few intricate things out of the graveyard here and having to think quite a lot. And it means that I'm quite behind on the clock. There's 47, 43, and then we're 10 minutes behind. So using F6 whenever I can to just skip through all the turns, but it's not really what you should do because things like that happen. I'm just trying to respect my opponent's time as best I can. A Teysa Envoy of Ghosts came down, by the way. And what's the limit break on this thing? That's -9. Create a bunch of Vampire Knights with lifelink equal to the highest life total among players, which will be 39 at the moment. Sounding like a broken record now, but Hapatra is coming in for the 57th time this game. And then a Contagion Clasp, which will put a minus counter onto Teysa. And that generates a death-touching snake for our opponent. We lose the flip again to Mana Crypt. We have been really unlucky with that this game. And we get into a sack outlet we don't really need. It's a little bit of life gain at least. So let's make some sack fodder for the Ashnod's Altar. I can't remember how much Muldrotha costs us actually. She is currently 10 mana, so that will be 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we've got enough for playing the Grave Titan out of the bin, thankfully. So let's just play the high market. Muldrotha comes down, we'll play the Grave Titan again straight away. Sacrifice a couple of zombies to do it, just to save ourselves some coloured mana. Then we'll go for Animate Dead onto Muldrifter. And a Notion Thief is good to have, as is Vorinclex. Let's play out the Lotus Petal. And that's our lot. We've got some sacrificing lands to hold up for the Field of the Dead. And we've obviously got the Nim Deathmantle combo held up as well. Not going to F6 this time. Sorin revealing another card again, and yet again it's a land. And they've mixed Snow Covered with basics, so I dare say we're going to see Field of the Dead in this list. If our opponent draws into it, that is. 3 points of damage coming in at us. I think we'll do a little bit of Nim Deathmantle trickery. We'll block with a zombie first. Oh no, we won't. It has protection from creatures. Forgot about that, so scratch that. We'll just have to take the 3. Obzedat Ghost Counsil coming down now for the first time this game. And that's probably going to be pointed at us. It certainly is. So we get drained for 2. And they've saved the target, so they always intend to do that on us. When does this get brought back in? It's at the beginning of your end step. You may exile it. Return it to play at the beginning of your next upkeep, so it's not each upkeep at least. Then Angel of Deliverance. Whenever it deals damage, if there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, exile a target creature an opponent controls. I dare say our opponent has 4 card types. Yeah, I dare say they do in all of that. They do not choose to get rid of their Obzedat. Proliferation now. Let's see what our opponent wants to proliferate. They've got Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts. They might want to put one on Sorin. They do choose to put one on Sorin, so they may well go down to vampires if these two manage to get rid of us. Unless they've got a board wipe in their hand. They might be trying to help Valdry to get rid of us with all the vampire tokens and then go in for a board wipe after that. But they get another snake anyway, thanks to putting a minus counter on here. They might not realise that we've got the combo online with Ashnod's Altar, Nim Deathmantle and Grave Titan. A Victimize now, so they'll probably sacrifice a snake. That will bring back the Solemn again. And the Uvenwald Tracker. They come in tapped, but there's no haste anyway. Solemn still triggers. And there we go, we get to the end step, so let's do some Ashnod's Altar shenanigans. We'll sack a zombie. And the Grave Titan. Nim Deathmantle triggers, we say yes. Which brings in the Grave Titan with a couple of zombies again, and we can do that forever. Once we've got some fodder, I'll do the same with Muldrotha. Just so that we can refill our hand. And I don't know if I'm going to make enough zombies to go infinite because it's so click heavy on Magic Online. But just know that if you're playing in paper, you can show your opponents this combination, and if there's nothing they can do about it, then you can just put a million zombie tokens into play and swing in with them next turn. Gonna go on to sacrificing the Muldrotha now, and we'll bring it straight back to draw ourselves some cards. Alright, so we're getting to Nazal, Vorinclex, there's a Notion Thief, Sylvan Library's pretty good, so let's get some more zombies out by going for these lands. Breeding Pool can come in, and we'll leave one in play just in case we're desperate to go for a zombie at instant speed. Then go for some more Grave Titan zombies again. And big shout out to my opponents for playing this out. Alright, and I'm already bored of doing this, so I'm going to leave it there and see what we draw into next turn. But like I said, you can go infinite there and have infinite zombies and go wide on your opponents. Let's watch ourselves lose the flip yet again with Mana Crypt. Might have to blow that up with Rex Sage. Oh no, we won this time. There's an Entomb. Entomb should be interesting. Anyway, let's go Noxious Gearhulk as an artifact. I want to get rid of that angel and gain ourselves some life. So we'll point that at the angel and gain ourselves 6 life and destroy that in the process. We could actually put a Chroma's Memorial into the bin with Entomb, couldn't we? Yeah, anyway, let's drop. We can just go for a fetch, can't we? Misty Rainforest. We'll sack the zombie that just came in and the Noxious Gearhulk, and we'll bring that back with the Nim Deathmantle, and that can go at Obzedat. Oh, and we actually played out Noxious Gearhulk as an artifact, didn't we? So we can't bring back the Chroma's Memorial this turn, unfortunately. Yeah, still worried about the Sorin, seeing as how we're not going infinite. So let's just go through to combat, and we'll see if we can push nearly everything through at Valdrieg. What is that? That's 30 points of damage, 36, 42, 44, so that is probably... No, actually they can block here, can't they? Anyway, Muldrotha can go in at Sorin just so that we don't have to worry about the limit break. We'll have to send a couple of zombies in at Sorin as well. Alright, Muldrotha and this chunk of zombies are going in at Sorin, and we'll just give our opponents even more of a chance to do something about us. Like I said, it's the problem with Magic Online. Combos like that aren't very easy to do, and you'll just be waiting forever and a day for your opponent to get the actual infinite off, so just choosing not to go for it this time. But if you build any of these decks in paper, just know that that is something you can go for. Teysa is blocking the Grave Titan, and whenever damage is dealt to you... Oh, I forgot about that actually. Whenever damage is dealt to you, destroy that creature and you get some spirits. So we're going to have to go for the combo again, unfortunately, because... Oh, actually, we could just sacrifice these, and that'll give us mana to bring our stuff back. So let's put Muldrotha back into the graveyard. Yeah, this is a long and windy game, unfortunately. So we've brought back the Grave Titan and the Muldrotha with the Nim Deathmantle combo before they're destroyed by Teysa. Alright, Mana Reflection, don't mind that. We'll sacrifice Muldrotha and bring her back as well. Our opponent's at 18 points of commander damage. And I don't know if us getting rid of these zombies keeps our opponent off of spirits. I don't think it does, but I'll just sacrifice these just in case. Then I'm just going to make use of the mana by going for a bunch of zombies with the Grave Titan again. And I suppose I might as well gain some life by killing off some things with the Noxious Gearhulk as well. Draw a couple of cards with Muldrotha as well. I want to really try and draw this game to a close now. Alright, there's a Rift. That doesn't do as much as it usually does, but it's good to have. And yeah, they still get the spirits, even though Teysa didn't technically kill our creatures. But we've got Rift for that anyway. So to save ourselves some damage, we're probably going to go for Cyclonic Rift anyway, so let's just make use of the mana and go for it now. Because I have no doubt that those spirits are coming in at us. Get out the Mana Reflection and the Sol Ring. Not going to bother with Sylvan Library because we can draw cards as much as we want with Muldrotha. So we'll just leave it there, I think. Let's actually just animate Dead quickly, just to keep it out of the graveyard. And we'll go for Oracle. Play ourselves an Underground Sea. And that is the turn, I think. Discard a Flooded Strand, a Nazal, and we'll get rid of Farhaven Elf as well. Teysa comes straight back down again from Valdrieg. And there's a Divine Visitation, which we can get rid of with Rexage, thankfully. Yeah, so what would happen there is if we swing in at them and don't kill them, they'll get a bunch of spirits into play, which will be turned into 4/4 Vigilance Flying Angels. Luckily for us, I think the game is drawing to a close, finally. And Hapatra has not drawn into anything, so they decided to just call it quits. They did the right thing and played through to their next draw step, because they might have gotten into an answer. Difficult to answer even with a board wipe, thanks to Nim Deathmantle and Ashnod's Altar, so I think we can just turn everything sideways next turn. Yeah, I'm not going to bother comboing off again. I'll just turn everything sideways and hope that it's enough. We've got 14 here alone, so it ought to be. Okay, we're getting to Eternal Witness, so we could get back the Cyclonic Rift consistently with that. But we're just going to turn everything sideways and say a huge thank you to Valdrieg and the Hapatra player for being incredibly patient with me there. Teysa blocks the Gravetide, and we managed to hit them for lethal. So there we go. Like I said, can go infinite with the Nim Death Mantle combo there, and anything that enters with 2 or more creatures you can do that with. I just tend to do it with Gravetide. Gravetide's one of my favourite creatures ever printed. And in paper you can just vomit a bunch of tokens into play and swing in off of an Akroma's Memorial, or the very next turn if you do it at the end of someone else's turn. As long as you don't have Summoning Sickness, you just swing in for the win, but it's not very easy to do on Magic Online without taking up even more time than I already have. So a huge shout out to my opponents for playing that one out, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you did. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.